Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings for Wednesday, April 2nd. I'm going to be covering the 8-game night slate. We have a split slate today. We got 7 early games and then 8 games at night. I'm going to be covering the 8-game main slate. This slate is definitely interesting when it comes to pitching. Not a lot of gas cans I see on this slate. Not really a lot of pitchers I want to stack against. We don't have hardly any high implied run totals for today besides this game in Cincinnati. We have the Brewers at 4.6 runs, the Reds at 5 runs. Other than that, I don't think there's a single team on this slate with an implied run total over 5 runs. So it's going to be interesting when it comes to bats. I think pitching, a lot of good pitchers on the slate. Maybe not the matchups you would want to ideally take them against, like DeGrom against the Braves. That's not really the best matchup. I think Strasburg's a good play today against the Pirates. We'll talk about him, but Aaron Nola gets the Marlins. We've seen the Marlins really actually have success against good pitchers. They've done well against Jake Arrieta. They hit Kershaw well. And some of these aces just haven't been able to perform well against the Marlins. Then you got Luis Severino, a tough matchup with the Astros. You got Dallas Keuchel on the other side of that game against the Yankees. That's kind of a tough matchup. Zach Galli has to face the Dodgers. Dylan Bundy gets a matchup with the Angels team that doesn't really strike out. So we do have pitchers on the slate, some good pitchers, but some of them don't have the best matchups. We'll kind of sort through which pitchers we want to go to, which ones have the best matchups, the matchups we want to target. But before we do get started looking at pitcher for today, guys, and looking at some bats, make sure you guys drop a like on the video. I definitely appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel and you have not clicked that subscribe button yet, make sure you subscribe down below. It really means a lot. Lets me know that you're enjoying my videos. But yeah, pitcher today, looking at the 2 pitchers we have on the slate over 10K, we got Steven Strasburg and Jacob deGrom. I'm not very interested in deGrom today against the Braves. That's just a matchup that really scares me. The Braves don't strike out a lot. They put the ball in play. The Braves can really just single you to death. We've seen some stud pitchers have success against them. We've also seen some stud pitchers really struggle against the Braves. deGrom wouldn't surprise me if he had a good game here, but I do feel safer with Steven Strasburg at 10,800 versus the Pirates. I like this matchup for Strasburg. As I am recording this video on Tuesday night, Max Scherzer having a pretty good game against the Pirates. Obviously, Max is a much better pitcher than Strasburg, but Strasburg I feel like can still have success as well in this matchup. The Pirates do have strikeouts in their lineup. There are definitely guys, especially towards the bottom of this lineup, that will strike out. The Pirates have a low implied run total today. The Marlins are heavy, or the Nationals are heavy favorites here at -200. Pretty likely Strasburg's able to get a win. So I like him. I think he's my favorite stud pitcher on this slate. Prefer him over deGrom. Aaron Nola against the Marlins, I feel like people might go to because of the Marlins, but this team, they've been able to have success. They've been able to put the ball in play versus pitchers. I've been taking pitchers against the Marlins. It hasn't really worked out. And just with Strasburg being a little bit more, I think I'd just rather play Strasburg here versus Nola. But then if we do look for an SP2, I think there is a clear SP2 option that you can pair with one of your stud pitchers. He's not very expensive at all. He's actually pretty cheap for this matchup. James Paxton, 8K versus the Athletics. I really like here. I think this is a great matchup. The Athletics will strike out. There are definitely a ton of strikeouts in this lineup. If we look at this lineup from top to bottom, you do have some power bats in here with Chris Davis. Jed Lowry's been hitting the ball well. Simeon's got some power. Pender's got power against against lefties, but still a lot of strikeouts in this lineup. The Athletics have a low implied run total for today, and the Mariners are also heavy favorites, -177. I would say it's likely Paxton's able to get a win here. I think the Mariners can give him some run support. I do like the Mariners as a stack today versus Brett Anderson, especially the righties, who we will talk about. But yeah, I just think this is a good spot for Paxton, pitching at home, good pitcher's park in Seattle. I think he's able to have a lot of success in this matchup and pitch really well. So I'm rolling with Paxton as my SP2 at 8K. Going Strasburg and Paxton still leaves you 3,900 remaining per player. So you can definitely fit bats in with these 2 pitchers. But if we want to look for the other cheap SP2s we could go to, there really isn't a lot I love, like under Paxton. Dylan Bundy, I think, is a really good pitcher, but that matchup with the Angels does scare me a bit. When he's so similarly priced to Paxton, I think I'd just rather play Paxton. Godley against the Dodgers could be a play. I do like Godley here, especially since the Dodgers, they did lose Corey Seager, arguably one of their best hitters versus righties. This lineup really isn't the same. You got to add Kike Hernandez into this lineup, and he strikes out a lot versus righties. The pitcher obviously will strike out. Bellinger will strike out. Matt Kemp will strike out versus righties. Chris Taylor versus righties has an increased K rate. So I don't mind Godley here, but he's also very similarly priced to Paxton. I think Paxton, just at 8K, is just the guy that really sticks out to me. And that's really it for pitcher. For me today, if I'm paying up like expensive SP1s, I'm going Strasburg over DeGrom. I don't mind going DeGrom today, but I think I do prefer Strasburg. Aaron Nola, I think, could be a guy you go to. Luis Severino, I didn't really talk about, but just against the Astros, I really don't take pitchers against the Astros. So I'm looking at Strasburg for expensive stud pitcher, and then SP2. I think Paxton, Bundy, Godley, all three guys you could go to, but Paxton out of those three, definitely my favorite 8K. But yeah, now if we want to look at some bats for today, my three hitters, I really like the Reds today as a stack. Definitely going to be getting some exposure to that lineup. So the first guy I like from that team is Eugenio Suarez, 4,500 in a matchup with Wade Miley. I love this matchup. Wade Miley, not a very good pitcher, does really struggle to righties, will give up a lot of power to righties, will give up home runs. And I think the righties from this lineup are definitely in play today. Jose Peraza, if you need some value, project about second, 3.7K. Duvall we'll talk about, I really like here at 3.7. You got Suarez, obviously projected about fifth at 4.5K. The Reds do have the highest implied run total on this slate as I am recording this video. I think they're a very good stack option here. At home in Cincinnati, that's a great hitter's park and the Great American Ballpark. Wade Miley going to that ballpark, he's really going to struggle here. So I like Suarez. I like some more Reds we'll talk about in a second. But Suarez at third base, definitely one of my favorite plays here. I don't think you can go wrong with Travis Shaw. 4,200 just under him, but I feel like Suarez is a little bit of a better play. But now moving on to the outfield, two plays here that I really like. First guy I think is a really good option today, 4,400, Nelly Cruz versus a lefty versus Brett Anderson. Always like to take Nelson Cruz versus a lefty. This dude has a ton of power versus lefties. And Brett Anderson, not that good of a pitcher. Surprisingly, the Mariners have one of the highest implied run totals on the slate at just 4.6 runs. I believe they're tied for second right now with the Brewers in an implied run total. So I like some of the Mariners here. I like the righties. Cruz obviously being the guy that has a lot of power versus lefties. He has homered twice off of Brett Anderson. He's only gone 2 for 12 versus Brett Anderson, but those two hits were both home runs. So I definitely like Nelson Cruz here. I think he makes a lot of sense in the outfield. If you're looking for sort of a stud play, 4,400 Nelly Cruz versus a lefty, lock it up. And then my final play is going to be a cheap value option that I really like from the Reds. Adam Duvall, I think it's a good value play here, 3,700 in that matchup with Wade Miley. Like I said earlier with Suarez, Miley just struggles to righties. He gives up a lot of power to righties. Duvall has a ton of power versus lefties. He hits lefties well. In Cincinnati, like I said earlier, just a great hitter's park. I think everything sets up well for Duvall to have a good game here. He is dirt cheap, projected about fourth for the team that has the highest implied run total on this slate. I think things just make a lot of sense here to roll with Duvall as a value option. Really just trying to get as much exposure to the Reds as I can today. I really like that team as a stack. So Suarez, Duvall, both good options I think you can target from that team. But yeah, guys, these are my 5 plays for today. Steven Strasburg, James Paxton, Eugenio Suarez, Nelson Cruz, and Adam Duvall. Now if we want to look at some stacks for today, some teams on the slate that have the highest implied run total. Number 1 for me is the Reds here versus Wade Miley, to no surprise. I just feel like the Reds are in a great spot here. Wade Miley's just not a good pitcher. The Reds have definitely a lot of good bats from the right side, guys that have power, Duvall, Suarez. Even Peraza has some power as well. Those are the guys I'm really looking to target. You could go like Joey Votto, but I do prefer Votto when he's against a righty, mainly looking at the right-handed bats. And then second stacks for me, like secondary, I would say the Mariners, some of their righties, Segura, Cruz, Haniger, Zunino, if you need a cheap catcher. I think these are guys that you can play. Also, you can go back to that game, the Brewers game. I do like the Brewers here versus Castillo. Castillo is a pitcher that does have a lot of talent, but we've really seen him struggle this year, been giving up home runs, been just allowing a ton of runs, allowing a ton of hits. So some of these lefties from the Brewers I think makes sense. If you don't like Suarez at third base, I think Travis Shaw for a little bit cheaper could be a play. I think Yelich is a good option here as well. Definitely look to the Brewers as a team to go to stack up. But that's really it for stacks and implied run totals. Now if we want to look at some of the top BVP plays on the slate, they have a pretty big sample, at least about 20-30 at-bats. A couple that stick out to me, Matt Wieters, 13 for 39 versus Ivan Noble with 4 home runs. So Matt Wieters, I'm sure he's in the projected lineup. Yeah, he's projected about 7th, 3-2, has great BVP versus Nova. You could definitely consider him at catcher today. Paul Goldschmidt, 10 for 22 versus Hyun-Jin Ryu with 2 home runs. A.J. Pollock also 9 for 26 versus Hyun-Jin Ryu, a 346 average. So Pollock and Goldschmidt have both hit Ryu well. And that's really it for like the BVP plays with a big sample. There are a couple here that have like a small sample. You got Matt Kemp, 3 for 14 with a home run versus Godley. Chris Taylor, 5 for 13 with 2 home runs versus Godley. Jonathan Lucroy, 5 for 11 with a home run versus Paxton. But that's really it for the BVP plays. Not a lot on the main slate. They at least have a big sample. So now if we want to look at pitchers that have done well in their matchups that are on the main slate, Steven Strasburg done well against the Pirates in the past. They've only hit him for a 183 average. They only have 11 hits and 60 at-bats versus Strasburg. He's managed to get 16 strikeouts in those 60 at-bats, so has definitely been able to get the Ks. And then Aaron Nola, done well against the Marlins. Obviously, this isn't the same Marlins team. They lost Giancarlo Stanton, but Nola has done well against this team in the past. They've only gotten 14 hits and 63 at-bats against him. They're only hitting him for a 222 average. And then pitchers that have done poorly, Ivan Nova has struggled against the Nationals. They've hit him for a 295 average, 23 hits, and 78 at-bats, 4 home runs. Hyun-Jin Ryu struggled against the Diamondbacks. They've hit him well for a 337 average, 27 hits, and 80 at-bats with 2 home runs. And then Brett Anderson versus the Mariners, he has really struggled in that matchup in the past. The Mariners have hit him for a 306 average with 3 home runs and 85 plate appearances. But yeah, guys, that's really it for PVB and BVP on this slate. And that's really it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, like I said earlier, just make sure you click that like button down below. And if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe as well. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or just leave a comment down below. And I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And good luck tonight on this slate, guys. Peace.